Breaking news on RT International. Syria's foreign ministry has urged the UN to condemn Thursday's U.S.-led coalition airstrikes, which it says killed 45 civilians and injured another 50. In a letter sent to the United Nations, the Syrian foreign ministry compared the bombings to atrocities committed by Islamic State terrorists. The raids on a town held by ISIL came less than 2 weeks after another coalition airstrike killed dozens of civilians. RT's correspondent Ganesh Chakan has more.
U.S. Central Command said late on Thursday it had, I'm quoting here, initiated an assessment following internal operational reporting that a strike today near Manbij, Syria, may have resulted in civilian casualties, end quote. Again, this is U.S. reaction to the latest strike on Thursday. On Wednesday, the U.S. said there was sufficient credible evidence of civilian deaths in another strike, which the U.S. carried out last Monday, also near the city of Manbij. It reportedly killed dozens. So the U.S. is now investigating civilian casualties in a number of U.S. strikes in Syria that happened in less than 2 weeks. Last week, when I asked the State Department whether the U.S. thought the strike in Manbij last Monday was a mistake, State Department's John Kirby seemed visibly irritated with my question.
The U.S. strike that reportedly killed around 20 civilians in the ISIL-held city of Manbij in Syria, was it a mistake on Monday?
That's another great accusatory question you've asked here. No other military works as hard as ours. None. No other military in the world to prevent civilian casualties. And when they happen, again, I'll say it again because apparently it didn't sink in the first time. When it happens, we investigate it fully and completely. And then we're transparent about it. And then we take the lessons learned and we try to prevent it from happening again. Just to be clear, one is one too many.
While State Department's John Kirby says the U.S. views one civilian casualty as too many, we see reports from Syria saying U.S. strikes killed dozens. The U.S. acknowledges that the strikes happened. It is now assessing how many civilians it estimates may have died in those strikes.
Earlier, my colleague Neil Harvey spoke to Abayomi Azikiwe, editor of the Pan-African Newswire. He said that, judging by its previous record, the U.S. is unlikely to punish those responsible for civilian deaths.
The major problem that the United States has in carrying out these airstrikes and other operations in Syria is that they're not working with the Syrian government in Damascus. So as long as they continue to not work with the Syrian government, we're going to see more and more of these attacks that result in civilian casualties.
This isn't the only attack that's created these kind of civilian casualties. On 19th of July, US airstrikes in pretty much the same area also reportedly killed a large number of civilians. The US and Russian ambassadors have both given statements on that this week. We can have a quick listen.
The United States will carefully and thoroughly review any and all credible information, including information from organizations within Syria that document harm to civilians and that are also trying now to investigate these events.
I was quite surprised by my American colleague's answer to a question on mass civilian deaths in northern Syria. She said the investigation will be based on information from Syrian civil society groups. So far, it seems that there are no American drones, no special operatives of the US or its allies in Syria, and no videos of airstrikes, even though all modern bombers capture videos when they conduct strikes. I don't want to believe that the military state of the US-led coalition is that bad. This reference to civil society groups makes me think that we will never know the truth, as everything will be swept under the carpet.
Do you think that there anything to that? Is Washington perhaps holding back any information?
They always do. This is a pattern in Syria, as well as other geopolitical regions where the United States is involved in aggressive military operations. These incidents occur on a regular basis, and nothing is ever done about it. We hear when it is exposed that there's going to be an investigation, but it is very rare to hear anything about any disciplinary activity being carried out against these U.S. soldiers and officers and commanders who are ordering these airstrikes.
Well, it is not the first time U.S. airstrikes have been condemned for extensive collateral damage. Back in January, reports claimed the American military was willing to accept civilian deaths in certain cases.
One official telling CNN the U.S. was willing to risk up to 50 civilian casualties in this area to get the building, to destroy the building.
The building mentioned there was an ISIL cash stockpile in Iraq. Back then, U.S. officials said hundreds of millions of dollars were destroyed, following reports of the Pentagon's willingness to risk civilian lives. A State Department spokesperson admitted there was a certain, quote, calculus, but did not give further details.
There's a calculus, so a particularly important target, you'd be prepared to tolerate a greater number of civilian casualties.
Again, I'm not going to give you a formula for that. I think,
No, but
I mean, obviously.
He's used the word calculus. I'm just trying to.
No, I understand it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be facetious at all. I'm just trying to say that these are very difficult processes and very difficult decisions to make. And obviously, we're dealing with high-value targets. But I just would say that that's always part of our calculus.
Former Pentagon official Michael Maloof says the U.S. accepts civilian casualties when a target is seen as a high value.
You'll never get the United States to admit to that, but I think that they do have behind the scenes there is that feeling that that if they have very limited deaths of innocent civilians, I hate the term collateral damage myself, but that's acceptable if you're going after these high-value targets, which might include the leadership or major installations, and people are just happen to be there. I do know they try to make an effort to not hit civilians, but it's not successful. They should be able to. Once you drop that bomb, you can't recall it.